Previously on Not Again.
We are 26 minutes in. Oh my god.
This is going to be a four-parter.
Yeah.
I told you.
The movie starts and Marlin loses 99% of his children and 100% of his wife. Has Marlin not told Nemo the circumstances of Coral's death?
That would kind of read into his overprotective. Like, he wouldn't tell him because, like, that would be too traumatizing to his little, like, fragile fish body.
Does Dory ever learn Marlin's name? There is a menstruation joke
Yes.
in Finding Nemo. And now, back to our show. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Not Again, the podcast that brings college-level analysis to preschool-level content. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Alan.
And we are going to finish up today with Finding Nemo.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you got the gist of the last episode from our recap, but if not, you can just go back to episode 8 and listen to us ramble on and take forever to get to
The actual plot of Finding Nemo.
Yeah, I think we spent 20 minutes on the first 3 seconds
Yeah.
of the movie. And now we have to talk about the rest of the show. So we left off talking about how Finding Nemo... Oh, Ari is sleeping in the next room again. So, again, we might be interrupted. I also wanted to say I didn't know going into last episode that I was going to be Jack in the Greatest Generation style with our transitions or whatever. I just, had this idea where I was like, it would be fun to use bits from the movie. And then I realized, the Greatest Generation does that.
Well, yeah.
So go listen to the Greatest Generation. They do it better than me because I didn't have time to figure out how to make the recording, clear and not tinny. So I won't do it again, probably. Or maybe for this episode I will, but then never again. We'll go back to our old transitions. But yeah, so we left off talking about their mental health issues being funny.
Yes.
And now I think this is actually a great place to pick up. The next big beat that happens is that the dentist introduces his niece, not daughter, whoopsie daisy. It's so funny. I never thought of her as his daughter. It was such a weird slip up for me to say that last episode. But he introduces his niece, Darla, and says she's turning 8 this week.
Yes.
And shows the picture to Nemo and says that Nemo's going to be her present. And so we will get to... I know you have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say about Darla.
Yeah, but we will get to that. But first I want to say that my favorite bit is when Nemo was scared when he first got to the fish tank. All the other fish were like, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. You can talk to my sister, period. But now... When Nemo's like, what's wrong with Darla? They're all like, oh man. And then Alice and Janney, as the starfish, just yells, she's a fish killer.
Way to calm the kid down, right? He was good impression, by the way.
I hope
She's a fish killer.
I hope I didn't blow out people's eardrums with that. I might need to go in and
might have to adjust the
my
levels. Yeah.
But that's she does. She shrieks.
It's oh, calm down. You're gonna be okay. You're going to be murdered.
Well, I mean, imagine this. So a 5-year-old child, encounters a group of people who are like, don't worry, we'll keep you safe. And then somebody else walks up and goes, hey, kid, I found somebody to take you home. And everyone else goes, oh, wow, but that person's a murderer. Good luck, kid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that person, that guy's killed 7 children already. Okay, bye.
Well, we were hoping you'd stay here with us, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out.
I mean, to be fair, they want to try to rescue him.
Yeah.
But, just don't yell she's a murderer really loudly when this kid is already separated from his father.
Just calmed him down.
Yeah. So, and then I wrote, also the dentist does not wash his hands after going to the bathroom.
Oh, right.
That's neither here nor there. Just you want your doctor, especially the one who's sticking his fingers in your mouth, to maybe wash his hands.
Yeah.
Especially now with COVID, that's doubly awful.
Mm-hmm.
So they have terrified the child. The dentist does not wash his hands. Before we move on, do you want to explain kind of the issue with Darla herself hasn't been... we'll do it here, because Darla herself hasn't come into the movie yet, but, let's talk about it. So the way that Darla is portrayed when she does eventually show up to the theme from Psycho, Like, that's
yes.
her thing. Oh, Ari is fussing. And we're back with Ari, who has been stopped up with a pacifier. We'll see if that works. And Radar technically is here, our dog. He's asking for comfort for some reason, but he doesn't make as much noise as Ari. So we were talking about Darla, who is turning 8 this week.
Yes.
But the problem is...
Is she does not act like an 8-year-old. I think they chose 8 for, like, because she has braces, she's at the dentist all the time, like...
Yeah.
They need a reason for her to be there, basically.
Yeah.
But just in her like vocabulary and mannerisms, the mannerisms of a much younger person.
Yeah, like she taps on the glass singing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." She doesn't seem to be very like verbal.
Yeah,
like her sentences or whatever. So I cut you off, but I was just gonna say, like, considering it was her birthday and he had a present for her, why did they need an excuse for her to be at the dentist's office?
Yeah,
I have no idea when kids get braces. But
that's also early for braces.
Yeah, is it early? Is it late? I don't know. Maybe somebody out here had braces at 5 years old.
I mean, you need all your adult teeth, and I suppose you can get that. I think the last ones are like 6 or something. My pediatric dentist told me.
All right,
for
sure.
Warren.
So I'll go with that. But yeah, but like if she could have just shown up and been like, "Hi, Uncle Dentist." I assume his name is Dentist.
His name's Uncle Dentist.
Yeah, she could have been like, "Hi, Uncle Dentist. I heard you had a present for me, so my mom dropped me off." Like, why did she have to be there for a checkup? So anyway,
she's tapped on the glass. She sings "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." She, yells, "Fishy, wake up," and shakes the bag.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you'd think for a company that makes movies for children, they would have, met a couple and, like, knew what they were like.
Oh, baby.
Try this.
Yeah, no, I mean, they would have met some children.
They would have met some children.
Nobody who works at Pixar has met child.
Yeah, and
person.
so, they I want to broach this delicately. Like, not every 8-year-old has the right or has the same developmental. I mean, we know personally. We have our own
development happens at different stages.
Rates.
What we just discussed privately is like, and now it's going to be quite public.
Yeah, there's no way. Sorry.
If she is developmentally, slower, delayed. We would have wanted her not to be portrayed not as the villain. She, like I said, she arrives to Psycho music. She's clearly portrayed as one of the movie's villains. Again, weird considering the audience is children to portray the child as a villain. Like, there are tasteful ways to make somebody, to portray a character, and she is not portrayed in a tasteful way at all.
She's definitely just the butt of a joke.
Right, and add on to that they definitely didn't actively make that decision.
I certainly hope not.
I hope not, because if they did, then they made all those choices to make her, a terrible character.
Yeah.
And so we have nothing against developmental delays or whatever. It's just like, portray them well, please.
Yeah,
like, be kind
to
these
characters.
It
was very, very strange to have her kind of all over the map like that, and
this was not the first time they've done this, because Monsters Inc. people talk about how Boo is all over the map with development. Like, she is not verbal yet because she only knows like a couple words, but she's running and jumping and going potty by herself, right? And so she has
just for the joke,
right? Yeah, so she has development all over the map as well. And I was just thinking, because Warren has discovered Up lately, which he calls Balloons, that Russell is probably the first time I've seen a child accurately portrayed by Pixar.
Well, yeah, he's supposed to be like 8, right?
And he's like the same age as
Darla, and he's completing tasks and sentences and missions and competent. Maybe that a lot of that's his character, because he's has to go get him Scout.
Yeah,
he's got that go get him Scout energy. But she should.
I placed Darla's actual age at about 4.
Yeah,
and that's fine. 4-year-olds, they don't understand life and death. They, a lot of them still need to be taught taught to have empathy, or at least they're not quite there yet. But she's 8, and an 8-year-old is in 2nd grade, maybe even 3rd. Let's see. I was
3rd grade, I think.
I was 10 and 5th, so that would be 9 and 4th. And 8 and 3rd grade, okay? 3rd graders would not be, like, singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to themselves. I'm sorry. Like, I have more respect for 3rd graders than that. Tweet at us if you think we're wrong, at Not Again Pod.
Yeah.
But we don't like the way that Darla was portrayed. Also, she's a fish killer. Like, how many times has this dude given her a fish
Right.
and had her murder it right in front of its friends? Like,
How many birthdays? Is it always a birthday? Is this like an annual?
yeah,
Is it like
every
an annual
birthday
sacrifice?
she gets a fish, and every birthday she kills it. You'd think the dentist would have learned.
Yeah, it's true. They show her with a picture of a dead goldfish
Yeah.
too. Like they were like, "Hey, look, here's her fresh kill."
Yeah, they have evidence of her, like it's her trophy. Like, he should have known better.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's
Apparently,
supposed to be.
I
It's
interrupted
okay,
you.
but I know it's supposed to be the irony of, like, he says he rescued Nemo when he was struggling on the reef, and then gives him to a fish killer. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say the dentist seems to have prized this. He wanted a picture of where he took the fish from. Like, this is his hobby. He obviously cares about this.
Yeah.
You know, to some, pretty high level. Like, this is his hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wouldn't just be like, "Oh, I caught this really cool fish." You know, this whole adventure probably cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
At the very least. And I'm just going to give it to this kid who's going to kill it immediately.
Oh, I hope I wrote this down somewhere. Well, I'll just talk about it now. This is something that, like, technically Warren is obsessed with Frozen, so we might do a Frozen episode, even though I kind of like that movie. But just, like, the logistics of getting to and fro, really problematic in Frozen, possibly problematic here, considering the journey that Marlin takes to get to Nemo versus the fact that the dentist has this small motorboat that can't possibly have gone out. I feel like I know nothing about boats or the sea, but like
we'll ask our loyal listener. But
you're making a joke about how we're unpopular.
No,
but yes.
Hopefully not for long.
Yeah.
No, but that little tiny boat, open ocean, a tiny motor. Like they're way out there, it's going to take a week to get back. Like, and then they have to catch the what's the current, the special current that takes him there quickly.
Yeah, and take a whale.
And there's another scene.
The whale.
Yeah, they ride a whale.
Yeah.
Catch the whale. And there's
9-10
a whole
whale
kind of montage about like how the news travels in the ocean, and that takes like a really long physical. It implies a really long physical distance. It's not like, hey, guess what I found? You know, like.
So my thought, my instinct is that there's a disparity between the way that like how far out the dentist would have been able to go versus how far out Marlin had to travel, and that's all I wanted to say. We need to move on, I realize, because I just thought about all the stuff that we still have left to talk about, and
We've been doing that a lot this episode.
Yeah, we need to make sure that
pair of episodes.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we actually get through the rest of this in one more episode. Oh,
bless you.
Bless you. We'll keep that in for realism. Whatever. Okay, here we go. So, I will really quickly mention that there keep being blonde jokes with reference to Dory, and it makes no sense. Like, in her sleep, she mumbles, "Yes, I'm a natural blue." Oh, come on, man. You're ruining our levels or whatever.
You're doing fine.
You're doing fine. And then later a crab calls her Bluey, like Blondie, and it's like, why are we making dumb blonde jokes at all still? I guess it was 2003, but like, and then why are we doing that about this particular, is it because we think she's stupid? Because again, that is problematic because she's not stupid, she has a mental health issue. Is it because she's played by a blonde woman? No one knows. Explain this to me, I don't get it. It's a really weird thing. So there's a Mission Impossible style rundown of Mission Child Endangerment. That's what I called it. Mm-hmm. But how does Gil know what the inside of this filter looks like? Like, he says you're the only one who can fit into this filter. You're going to go shove a rock in it. But, like, and then he even says, like, you're going to see a little fan put a rock in there. Like, how does he know if he can't get in there?
I don't know.
How does this fish know what the inside of a filter looks like? Yeah. That's all. I mean, later Peach does read a manual for the new water filter. So did she read the manual with the current filter to him? And then, okay, let's say that. Like, she read the manual and that's how he knows what it looks like. Either way, child endangerment is fun. Mm-hmm.
But this is this opposite father figure.
Right,
so the
yeah.
other one kept him safe from all things, and Gil is basically just like, here, bunch of danger.
Do everything, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I skipped talking about the tube that he gets stuck in the fish tank as the parallel scene from the tube coral, because we already talked about that. But that did happen. John Ratzenberger's there. We already talked about that. I wrote jellyfish escape scene. Marlin learns a valuable lesson about friendship. Sure. Nothing to say there. So Gil says all drains lead to the ocean. I'm yes and no, but like I'm pretty sure that there are some filters to make sure only water reaches the ocean. Because if, like say we flushed our toilet and there was not such a filter
process,
there would certainly poor fish. Poor fish. I mean, we already know that they deal with their own, but like, why should they have to deal with ours?
Yeah, and I think you pointed this out to me off air, but it's freshwater, and these are saltwater fish.
Yeah.
So they would just die anyway.
Yeah. So it's freshwater. So if you put a saltwater fish in freshwater, they explode. If you put a freshwater fish in saltwater, they shrivel up. So Nemo would just die. But like that happens a lot with, this movie. So water filters exist. Filtration systems in sewage plants exist. We are going to move on to mission child endangerment goes terribly wrong. So Gil can also learn a lesson because everybody needs to learn a lesson. Mm-hmm. You get a lesson and you get a lesson. And motif of fathers and sons in the movie. So I wanted to talk about, I use this as an example in my AP classroom for motif because we have Marlin and Nemo. We have Bruce crying about how he never knew his father. We have Crush and Squirt, the turtles. And we have just the dads at the beginning that Marlin talks to. So there's a motif in fathers and sons because, Marlin learns more about fatherhood all throughout the movie. And so, of course,
his kind of hero's journey, his path to learning something new.
Right, exactly. And we'll talk more about the hero's journey.
Oh, well,
soon.
Yeah.
You have a whole thing about that.
I have a whole thing on that.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. You were saying his
so
path.
that's what he's learning along the way.
Right. Yeah. And you already talked about Crush and how sea turtle babies don't often make it back to the water. So we'll move on. But that did happen. I wrote Marlin learns more about fatherhood from Crush the turtle. Woo. So Nigel learns Marlin's story and rushes to tell Nemo. Nigel is a pelican, for those who don't know. And we go back to the dentist fish tank. And now they try to be delicate around Nemo, R.E. Darla. First she's a fish killer, and now they're like, don't talk about D-A-R. Like, too late.
Yeah,
You've already traumatized this child. They should have been this sensitive to begin with. So Nigel shows up to tell Nemo that Marlin is on his way. And Nemo knows his father's name. And I wrote, is this weird? I have a story about this, but I think I was about Nemo's age. My father once told me at the dinner table that he and I have the same initials. And for this story to work, let's say that my maiden name is Smith, okay? So my dad says to me, hey, Rebecca, did you know that we have the same initials? And I went, really? Your name is Dad Denise Smith? I really said that. And then, of course, they laughed at me, and I was traumatized forever because anytime I got laughed at as a child, I hated it. Well, so even though it's funny to me now and I know why they laugh now, I thought, laughter meant you're being stupid, and so I took that into my heart. But
that's great.
I was about Nemo's age, and Nemo was in human years.
Yeah, we kind of guessed at his age because he's starting school.
Yeah, and so I actually find it kind of strange that Nemo would know his father's name.
I don't know. I could go either way on that one, but it's.
Well, I wanted to ask. I mean, do you remember specifically learning your parents having names or whatever?
I think I had to very early on. Maybe around that time, like whenever I started answering the phone, probably much to my parents' chagrin, because people just asked, that sort of stuff, and my dad also doesn't go by his first name; he goes by his middle name, and so there's a lot of kind of confusion about what if someone called and asked for Robert, we knew that they were some sort of telemarketer because that's just not, nobody calls him that.
Right.
So
Okay, so you needed to know.
I don't know,
too.
but that could have been later. I'm trying to think of when that actually was.
I can't give you time to think about when that actually was because I just checked and I have 9,000 more bullet points.
Okay.
I always say 9,000. I just checked and I have 852 more bullet points.
All right, let's mush
So
on
we'll
then.
move on. So Nigel's telling the story that came through. You were just talking about, like, came basically down the telephone chain of, like, everybody telling the story. And he's looking directly at the fish, and it cuts between them a couple times,
Yeah.
looking at the fish, whatever. But then when it cuts back, at the end of the story, Nemo is gone, and the fish are all surprised that Nemo has disappeared. Like, Gil's like, hey, isn't that great? Where are you? But Nigel shouldn't be surprised. He was looking right at them. Like, the perspective of the camera showed us that he was making eye contact with Nemo the whole time. So shouldn't he have been like, hey, wait, hey, where are you going? Stop swimming away while I'm telling you this story about your heroic father.
By the way, first time a game of telephone has ever worked perfectly.
He should have been like, I just heard that your dad, swam to Mars and then defeated some aliens, and then he took a rocket ship back to Sandra Bullock's house. And like,
Exactly.
he did, like, obviously it got changed a little bit because it was like he battled 3 sharks and he tied the anglerfish to a rock, and like it got changed a little bit, but the gist was still pretty clear. So you're correct that is the first time that's ever happened. So Nemo successfully accomplishes mission child endangerment. We cut back to Marlin and Dory exiting the East Australian Current, and they enter into this cloudy water and play a guessing game where, LOL, Dory thinks of Marlin every time, and Marlin says it's me, and the next one is also me, and that's not how short-term memory loss works.
Oh, you're talking about when they were doing the I Spy?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, how did you know I was gonna think of you next? Like, she's not gonna anticipate forgetting that she already did him and come up with him as the next one as well. That's not how that works. And again, we're laughing at the short-term memory loss.
Well, we're laughing at the absurdity of them not knowing what short-term memory loss is. They're just like, wouldn't it be funny if she lost her train of thought all the time?
So she has short-term memory loss after something happens, not before. Like, she doesn't anticipate. Anyway, I just said that, so we'll move on. It is time for the whale scene. I have in my notes, have Alan explain the whale scene. So let me tell you, Dory does her whale speak. And I asked the question, does the whale think she's being bigoted or condescending at this point? Like, the whale probably understands them just fine, but she's purposely talking weird.
Yeah, understands them the first time. All other fish seemed fish and mammals, I will point out, other than the seagulls, which are just say the one word, but they all speak the same language.
Fish, mammals, and birds, then.
Fish, mammals, and birds.
Yeah.
And so there's absolutely no reason to think that just because this animal is bigger, that it just doesn't also speak English.
This is a traditional kids movie exception, but all fish, mammals, and birds except predators. So we are to assume that the barracuda and the anglerfish do not speak or understand language.
The sharks speak.
The sharks speak because they're comedic.
I guess.
But anytime they become, like, because in order for it to be creepy and also for us to accept, like, the nature of it, you know what I mean? If the barracuda came up, it would almost be like 2 slasher movie.
Yeah, it'd be too
kids.
intense if the barracuda was like, I'm going to eat these eggs.
Yeah, like, I'm going to kill you. Like, if you know.
Yeah.
So Bruce did that, and but they made it as funny as possible. You know what I mean? And he didn't explicitly threaten them. He kind of, he said, I'm having fish tonight, which, but like, for the most part, like, what I usually bring up for an example of this is The Land Before Time with T-Rexes. And I think also the wonderful hit movie Dinosaur by Disney that was like computer animation. I think the T-Rexes didn't talk in either one because they're predators. Okay. Anyway, so I just assumed the whale understood her from jump and then was kind of rolling its eyes like, I got it. Oh God, I just have to listen to her like making fun of me. So the whale.
Well, the whale does chase after those krill that say run away, so maybe it is a predator the whole time.
Yes, that's true. So Dory knows that. I wrote Dory doesn't know what a jellyfish is, but does know that whales eat krill. So she has very specific knowledge. Anyway, so the whale eats them, opens its mouth and sucks them in. We know very well, dramatic irony, for the purpose of transporting them to Sydney, Australia. And I will now ask you to explain the whale scene in short. We gotta go.
Okay, so this movie has been played 1,000 times in our house.
Yes.
Just on repeat, and just for not so much anymore, but it was at some time. And so whenever it just seemed to me, whenever I would like glance at this movie where me and Warren were off playing somewhere else and we walk back into the room and it's still on, it is the whale scene almost every time.
Yeah. And we don't know why that is. Maybe it's just more noticeable.
I can come up with a couple of theories. One, if it was the beginning of the movie, it means I just started it, so I would know, right? Like there was
you haven't spaced out yet.
That wouldn't seem haven't spaced out yet.
Yeah.
That wouldn't seem odd to me.
Yeah.
Or if it was the end, I'd just be like, the movie's over. You know, like.
But the whale scene, like I don't know, it somehow like, catches your attention.
Or just by luck, it all maybe it's a really long scene. It kind of is.
It is a very long scene, and then so basically we need to say this because we now call any scene in a movie that we just seem to always see more than any other scene the whale scene, and we'll probably bring that up in future. I don't remember if we bring it up in the Cars episode, but I feel like we talked about it, and that's why. So now people will know what we're talking about. So yes,
the whale scene is the one that you just can't seem to avoid.
Yeah, for WALL-E, it's very interesting. It's in the end credits music, and you know the singer's name, and I don't.
I think it's Peter Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel. That Peter Gabriel song, there's just one line where he sings like a fish in the ocean, and I hear that every time, and I think it's because it's after a musical interlude, but it pulls me back. And
so
anyway.
it's the first thing he says after a
So
break
we've seen the whale scene a lot. So that's that. And then we go back to the filthy fish tank, and we have this, we talked about inappropriate adult jokes in kids' movies, but this one is specific to almost cursing or fake cursing, and I have a correction to make. In the last episode, I said the Flophouse talked about this in their episode Romeo and Juliet. Mm-hmm. It was my mistake. They talk about it in the inexplicable sequel to Romeo and Juliet, Sherlock Gnomes. So they have an episode on Sherlock Gnomes, and they also talk about it in an episode that everyone should listen to about a wonderfully terrible animated movie called Food Fight. But I had to shout out Elliot, not only because he talks about this, but because he is a Jewish role model that I didn't really know I needed. It wasn't until he started talking openly about Judaism in the Flophouse that I realized I didn't have a lot of Jewish influences in media growing up. It was the Rugrats and my own family members, and they aren't in the media, except for, I guess, my uncle. But, he's behind the scenes anyway. So, it was nice to hear him talking confidently about being Jewish and pointing out Jewish stereotypes, of which there are many in movies and things that I didn't even notice. Yeah. And so I had to shout out that I really appreciate that from him. But also he talks about how he thinks that that's really inappropriate. For instance, in Finding Nemo, when Gurgle, who's the germophobic fish, yells, "Don't you people realize we are swimming in our own?" And then Peach cuts him off with "shh," which is so we know exactly what he was going to say, and so it's not really avoiding the curse. You're still thinking it, and so he doesn't like that, and I agree. I do not like that at all when they kind of still find ways to curse in kids' movies.
Are we going to talk about Love a Duck or Rubber Duck at some point?
I think he yells "Love a Duck."
I think I can't quite hear it.
Have we never watched this movie with subtitles? We should do that.
I mean, should is a strong word. No, I couldn't tell which one he says, but he's definitely using an almost.
It's weird.
It's a weird almost swear saying.
Yeah. For sure. Or maybe that's just because that's one thing I say a lot, and you're primed to think that. You're programmed to think that. But yes. So I don't like that because it's still cursing.
It's still cursing.
It really is. It's just, Anyway, so, and also Gurgle said people. Don't you people realize we are swimming in our own? So, I guess, don't you fish realize we're swimming in our own filth would sound weird. Well, but he called them people. So they're not. Marlin has 1 or 2 or 3 more epiphanies inside the whale. Makes his Moby Dick reference, gets dropped off in Sydney. Back in the fish tank, they wake up to a brand new filter, and the tank is sparkling clean. This would not happen.
You would clean the tank first before you made a filter deal with all of that. So, their plan would still have worked.
Yeah.
Getting a new filter means you have to clean your tank.
Yeah, you just basically pointed out, the tank is covered in, algae or whatever, and the water filter would clean the water, but, the algae would still be on the walls. Yeah, it wouldn't clean the tank walls, And it could get gummed up. You have this brand new filter, you're not going to, make it deal with the most scummy tank ever. So the plan should have worked, is what you were saying.
Yeah, basic, when you get a goldfish, that probably says that in the manual. Clean your tank before you filter.
Yeah. Yeah. So the dentist tries to scoop Nemo out of the tank with a net. All the fish join together to pull the net out of his hand. Mm-hmm. This would freak me out if it happened to me.
Yes.
he's like, all the fish just banded together to like
to stop me.
To stop me. That's not something fish should do. Are fish sentient? I would just like have a breakdown. But he's just like, well, I'll find another method, and he scoops him out with a bag because the fish stole his net. They stole it from him, and he should have noticed that. Should have reacted to that. This dentist should be in a mental institution by the end of this movie, honestly. Like when he yells, "Crikey, all the animals have gone mad." Yeah, they have, dude. Mr. Dentist, sir. Like, you should be thinking about this. Anyway, so that happens. It also foreshadows, of course, the 7th or 8th ending to this movie. Disney movies have a bunch of endings.
Where they all swim down together.
So, yeah.
Just like they did in the little plastic net.
This is not our MO, but I'm going to say something positive about this movie. Try not to freak out.
All right.
So I think that we just have to say a quick bit about this really good piece of voice acting from Willem Dafoe. When Nemo is pulled out of the water and put in the bag, he's frantic and worried because he thinks he's gonna die, probably because Peach told him he's gonna die. And Gil is equally frantic, but has to pretend to be calm for Nemo's sake. And I think that like voice acting, like I am an adult who feels frantic and panicked as well, but I can't show that to a child because I have to, be reassuring to him, even if I don't, know how to help him, is like such a nuanced thing to have to play.
Very specific.
Like I am also worried, but cannot appear worried because, I have to calm down this child who's scared, and I love this child, and I don't want, to freak him out even more. Is a really like specific, like you said, thing, and I thought he did a great job with that. And Willem Dafoe is just a great actor in general, but like that.
Well, you don't get to be Willem Dafoe, without.
A lot of people on the internet recently, I just saw were discussing whether he's hot or not, and I love that. Anyway, but yeah, he did a great job with that, and I loved that. So Darla arrives at the Psycho theme. We already talked about this, and so we don't have to talk about it again. And this is Disney's classic 10-ending film. Marlin thinks Nemo is dead in the dentist's office. Nigel drops them back in the ocean. Dory tells Marlin, "I don't want you to leave because I won't forget. Suddenly you need to take me seriously, even though before you've been laughing at me," right? And then it goes right back to being a joke, too, because Nemo shows up because all drains lead to the ocean, right?
And
I think he
was... In the same spot?
Yeah, he was in a filtration system of some sort.
Yeah, he was at the treatment plant. But
he popped out of one of the little tubes. Like, they tried to imply that there was filtration.
There was something going on there.
But anyway, so he pops out and he goes to find her, and she's forgotten, why she's there, and she's frantic. And so he says, "Don't worry, we'll go. I'm looking for someone too. We'll go look together." Yeah. And he starts calling Dad, Dad, and then Dory says, "Wait, is it your dad or my dad?" So it goes right back to being a joke. So this is the part where Dory finds a crab and asks where Marlin is, and the crab calls her Bluey instead of Blondie because blonde jokes. What? I still don't get it. And I mean, we can cut this out later if you want me to, but you know a thing or two about people being strangely prejudiced against you based on hair color. Yeah. And so, and I had a student who, I'll just say you have red hair. Is that okay? That's fine. I don't think people can track you down based on your first name and hair color.
You might have to cut it out just from you asking him. It's okay 3 times.
Yeah, it's fine. But I had a student in a creative writing class who wrote about literally experiencing the stereotype of being blonde and people attributing any little goof up she makes to being blonde and how you have to deal with that. And it's so weird that we judge people based on hair color. Racism in general based on skin color is already messed up and weird and stupid. But to add hair to that is can we dig no lower really? Wait.
Well, there was a
you know what I mean. He calls her Bluey and says she threatens him with murder. Right, she pokes him up out of the water for the seagulls to eat, and then he gives up that Marlin went to the fishing grounds, and this is the equivalent of a human saying he went to the murder forest. This is where I said last episode there's a problem with sentient fish universes. This is one of them. They are quite aware of fishermen, and they apparently know of a place called the fishing grounds. Why are any of the fish going there?
And I'm getting a little ahead of this maybe, but it's probably just an animation thing, but all of the fish being caught are very gray and monotone and grumpy, and so it's almost like we don't feel bad that they're getting scooped up by the thousands.
Sure, yeah, they're just kind of cookie cutter fish.
Yeah, everybody else is colorful and has personality, and they're boring and drab. And I
imagine it is a little bit for realism too, because whatever fish those are the actual fish that get caught.
And if you're gonna animate that many fish, it's probably hard to give them all their own
Distinct
flair.
Yeah.
But it's I just kind of found like, oh, it's okay, they're getting caught.
Well, here's the problem. So, So he goes to the murder forest, and Dory and Nemo are like, great, we'll also go to the murder forest. That's basically what they say. And Nemo and Marlin reunite. Hooray, right? Everything's fine for a second, but then Disney has to bring back this, like, swim down in the net thing because they couldn't have just, like, let that lie, right? And it all has to come back in for a wrap-up. But so before we get to your explanation of why the swim down method actually wouldn't work for that number of fish, because you're a scientist and you get it.
Well, I hope I'm right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, somebody can tweet at us. Yeah. I want to say, like, we are supposed to be relieved that that group of fish makes it out of the net, but, like, there are other fishermen. So, like, that it's like I was telling you about. I'm watching Criminal Minds, and, like, the way that serial killers work is, like, the serial killer catchers don't start on a case until many people have died, and so we're always supposed to be happy in Criminal Minds when they save, like, the one person who's the next victim, and it's like, yay, I'm so glad that person's alive, but, like, many other people have still died. So, like, those fish, anyway.
Yeah.
So they want to use the swim down together method. And you say that wouldn't work, and I think you're right.
I think I am.
So, and what is? And you're not a physicist, you're a chemist, but still.
Yeah, all the force that those fish would be exerting would also be exerted on the fish at the bottom of the net.
So the fish at the top, if they're exerting enough force to pull that net down.
To pull that net down, they're just going to be injuring and maiming, their friends, right? Because so they have to push down on the fish on the bottom, and the fish on the bottom would be receiving the pressure from all the subsequent fish. If you think of like the doors on Black Friday, if you have enough energy to bust the doors open, the people like right next to the doors are getting hurt.
Yeah, that's true. And Black Friday causes injuries for that reason. Yeah. So probably wouldn't work. Yeah. But whatever. And then we're supposed to be happy they escape, as I said. But the thing is that, call me a horrible person, I'm more sympathetic to the human fishermen who need to catch fish for their livelihood.
Yeah.
And, like, they now have a broken boat and no hull. And so, like, we're supposed to be like, oh, they're so evil for fishing. But, like, they didn't know the fish are sentient. And, like, if I knew fish were making references to Moby Dick and desperately protecting their children, I would never eat sushi again.
Yeah.
Like, they're just doing their job, and now, like, they have to repair a boat with money they can't make off of the hull because they don't have the hull. So I feel bad for the fishermen.
Oh, also, I wanted to point out that Nemo is really confident this is going to work.
Yes.
Because he did the little fishnet thing in a tank being held by a fisherman or a dentist, with his one hand.
Right.
So he needs to save Dory, and I want to talk about that too.
For sure. I'm sorry, I didn't put that in my notes. Yeah, but yes, please do.
So he needs to save Dory, this person he met 5 minutes ago at most.
This fish he met 5 minutes ago. Don't make the gurgle mistake.
I won't make the gurgle mistake. I will. But this person he met 5 minutes ago, he goes, I have to, save her.
Dad, it's the only way we can save Dory.
It's the only way we can save Dory, who he does not know. His dad
all he knows is that she, like, happened to help him.
That is a friend of my dad's. That's all he knows about her. And so, but he's so confident that if he can just do what he did in the fish tank, that this is going to work.
Right.
And Marlin doesn't want him to go, but then with his confidence,
Nemo says, Dad, I can do this.
I can do this. He lets him do it.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have let him do it because, one, he didn't know it would work, and two, like, I don't know. Maybe there is no two. But
there's a lot of reasons that if we really think about it from a parent's perspective. So what it's supposed to be is that Marlin has learned his lesson to let his son try things.
Yes, try things.
But first of all, Nemo doesn't have to go into the fish net in order to make this happen. Second of all, maybe this is getting too dark. A parent choosing their child's life or Dory's life.
Or their friend's life.
Their friend's life.
I was going to say it. I didn't know if we were going to go there, but, like, that's a hard choice. I mean, not a hard choice. If this is your child, you generally would do just about anything to keep them safe, and your adult friend who you love, I mean, I don't want to do like a...
well, here's the thing. I'm saying they didn't have to write her off as dead. All I'm saying is, like, you say, son, we will try this together. I believe in you. Because you don't, like, if you learn to let your kid, like, go off on their own, you're still not supposed to let them do that when it's not abstractly or abjectly or objectively. There we
Yeah.
go. Dangerous.
Yeah, this is-
like his life could be threatened. But they could have swam around. Like the outside fish were already listening
Yeah.
to them. They could have swam around the net, yelling, "Swim down, swim down." They didn't have to go into the net to do that. At all. So he could have said, yes, let's try our best to save Dory. Your plan is great. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Help me. You swim that
Well,
way.
yeah,
swim
I
this way.
believe in you, and is already like a, there's some danger. I mean, I don't know how they would, but it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not
It
saying
was
they
weird.
had to leave Dory to die, but a parent certainly would not have let their child go into that
Yeah,
situation.
or they would do it themselves, maybe. I don't
Yes,
know.
He would have said,
but-
Nemo, wait here, I'll do it, for
Yeah.
sure. That's exactly it. Like, again, it's supposed to be a symbolic moment, but, like, we'll get into this with what have we learned, but, like, Marlin's lessons, should he have learned those lessons or not? Let's put a pin in that. Okay, so... Oh no, Nemo is dead. No, he isn't. Yeah, everything is fine. That's the summary of how that goes.
Okay.
We just had to have one more ending where he apologizes, just like every kid does, for saying, I hate you. They go home. How? look at what Marlin had to do to get to Nemo. We've already discussed this. He had to follow a boat for an indeterminate period of time, get lost with some sharks, get blown up, take a current, take a whale, take a pelican. He does not know where he lives now. like you can't. The East Australian current isn't a freeway. It doesn't go in reverse.
Yeah, it only goes one direction.
Like, what is he gonna find Crush and be like, make this thing go backwards? Crush is gonna be like, no worries, dude, bye. Like, and so I'm reminded of this wonderful Eddie Izzard joke where he was talking about the Druids building Stonehenge by walking 200 miles and then going, I don't know where I live now. Like, he does not know how to get back home. The series of events that took him to his son were completely unique and irreversible. So, but they just kind of cut to them being home.
It's just the happy end of movie.
Yeah, so basically that. Just a quick cut, they're home, yay! And then there's an mid-credit scene where the fish in the fish tank do their plan works a second time, and they get out the window, and they're all encouraging Peach to make the leap from the street onto the ocean, and she says, that's the shortest red light I've ever seen. She has never seen any red lights. That's the first red light she's ever seen.
Well, she's
so
not
technically
wrong.
it's the shortest and the longest she's ever seen. They are all going to die because they're stuck in plastic bags.
And
I threw that out on the end.
Well,
Did you see that?
Yes, in the Nemo escape scene, when he's in a plastic bag, it flies across the room and explodes.
Yeah.
But when they drop out of a window, it does not explode.
His fell on dental tools. I will say
I
that.
mean, the street.
Sharp
I don't know.
dental yeah,
I don't know.
they fell out a window. I thought you meant when she fell into the ocean.
No,
yes,
if
when
it fell into the ocean, that little hop is fine, but the big hop, they should have.
Yeah.
If the first bag blows up, then the other one
Just
should.
imagine them all like accidentally doing this, where they fall out the window and the bags break open, and then they're just flopping on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
That's
well.
so sad. But now they're going to die.
But
in plastic
it's
bags.
equally sad because
Yeah.
they made it to the ocean, but now they're in a bag.
They-
Maybe the Skittle or whatever his name is, the pelican, can help them.
Oh, Nigel.
Nigel.
I like Skittle. Sure, Nigel Skittle Pelican Bones. That's.
Well, I was thinking of Scuttle from Little
Scuttle,
Mermaid.
yes.
That's where it
Scuttle's
came.
gonna fly by and help.
Yeah.
He's gonna say mine, and then he'll peck open the bag, and everything will be fine.
Okay.
So that's that. And hey, we're finished with the movie because the after the credit scene is just the teeny tiny little scared green fish eating the Pixar logo.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about that, except we just did. Okay, I'm sorry. This movie's driven me crazy. You know what it's time for? It's time for What Have We Learned? Well, there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
So I wrote, be nice to kids with physical and mental disabilities. Yes. I mean, treating them like they're just like everybody else, not overly protecting them or sheltering them.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah,
But
I would have to actually talk to a child psychologist or something to see if the Lucky Finn thing is a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's kind of a bad idea. That's my guess.
I mean, we would have to. I don't want to talk too much about it because I guess like content warning for talking about people with physical disabilities. But I mean, I'm going to try to be very like gentle and non-judgmental about this. We would have to talk about if a child had I don't know what, like a leg that's a different length almost
something like that.
or
Yeah.
calling it their lucky leg, or sometimes children have to be amputees, right?
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
if they lose their arm? Do we call that their lucky arm?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem very lucky considering they've.
Well, but I mean,
you know,
it's
it seems
just,
insensitive almost.
It seems weird to me. Maybe you are supposed to make somebody who knows might be able to tell me.
Well,
if that,
my mom listens to this and she's a therapist, so
maybe she'll be able
to.
to tell me if that's a good idea or a bad idea. My hunch is that it's not a good idea.
Look, the
to
important
call
thing
attention to it in that way.
Marlon is a loving father,
Yes.
and I do not have any problem with the character being a loving father. His high anxiety and his trauma lead him to making decisions that unwittingly and accidentally could be traumatic and cloying for his child.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't mean to. The lesson he's supposed to learn is, like, lighten up, the world isn't that dangerous, except it is, as we talked about.
It is that dangerous many times over the movie.
And then he almost overcompensates, like you said, by letting Nemo swim into that fishnet that would almost did lead to his death.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, the world, you shouldn't be afraid to try anything. Like, staying locked up in your house, not a good idea. And that's the lesson that he ostensibly learns, but, like, he goes too far in the other direction. And the problem again with sentient fish universes is the ocean just is dangerous.
Yeah.
More dangerous than just our, people can push back on this, but more dangerous than our world.
Any ecosystem you can pick, the Amazon rainforest has got a lot of snakes and big cats and stuff like that.
So, like, an ecosystem is dangerous, and as a fish specifically, like, you are at the bottom of the food chain. Like, you are in danger. That's why you live in a poison house.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, like, he is technically right to be afraid, but because we've given them sentience, he is he's not neglecting or traumatizing, but he is like oppressing his son, I guess, and that's not good. And so he was right the whole time. Humans are the real monsters. The theme or lesson of every story ever. Are humans the real monsters? Yes, we suck. I'm thinking about it. Yep, nope, we are.
Well, I mean,
we destroy the environment. We litter the oceans. We have oil spills that
we scoop up huge bags of fish.
Yeah, I mean, just bags of fish. We're probably a terrible blight on this world, and we should start thinking about maybe healing the environment a little bit, because I don't think nature ever planned for the burning of fossil fuels or, like, mass consumption.
Yeah.
So there's that. Anything else that I missed? I know we have to wrap up, but
I think that's probably pretty good.
so yeah, I mean, I think that the main lesson here is, even if you have the best intentions with your child, if you are not seeking help for your own demons, then you could be transferring them onto your kid, and that's dangerous. And also, of course, if your child has a mental or physical disability, they are still capable human beings and should be treated as such. And again, they tried to show that Marlon was doing his best by his son, and I get that, but I think that it just wouldn't pan out so well in real life. In real human life is what I mean.
Real fish human life.
If fish were really sentient. Also, I mean, honestly, they would both have been eaten long ago if this were real life.
Yeah.
So, and Nemo would have, like, turned.
Yeah. There's a reason there were so many eggs at the beginning.
Yes,
Let's just say that.
Right. Oh, and I was right about R-selected and K-selected species.
Oh, good.
However, in the first episode, I made it sound like the only K-selected species were humans and elephants. Like, I listed the humans, elephants, and then stopped. I didn't say, like, humans, elephants, and other such species that have only a few children. So, like, oops, it just sounded like us and elephants that care about our children and nobody else does.
Nobody else does.
Like, cats don't care about their kittens, and anyway. So that is that. We did it. We made it through Finding Nemo.
Okay.
And we're going to be moving into Super Wings next for a couple episodes.
Couple episodes of Super Wings.
That's going to be fun. And then after that, we'll be doing Alan Guesses the Plot of Cars. And you know what? I've been pushing our luck. Babies are awake. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for helping us to stay sane for one more week. We will catch you next Saturday. Tweet at us at Not Again Pod. Quick correction to our Facebook page name. I had to change it. It's Not Again with Alan and Rebecca. So you can search us up on Facebook. And like and subscribe. 5-star reviews. All right. Bye for real. I've been Rebecca.
I've been Alan.
And thank you for listening.